Good day to you all. It's Wednesday. Welcome to Hacking Self Storage. I'm your host, Dean Booty. So today, I want to talk to you about pay-per-clicks advertising and how much you should invest in pay-per-clicks. And yes, I use the terminology invest. So many people actually believe that it's a cost, and you need to change that mentality, because as soon as you start thinking it's a cost, then you start thinking, well, I want to spend as little as possible. I want to decrease it. But you don't. You want to maximize it. You want to put in as much as possible. Pay-per-clicks is investment. That's how we need to think about it. So if you think about pay-per-clicks as an investment, then you will spend more money. So the more money you put in pay-per-clicks, the better you will be. The more, as long as you know your numbers, by the way, it goes without saying that, listen, the number one thing you need to know is cost to acquire a customer. How much does it cost to acquire a customer? And number two is lifetime value. If the lifetime value is more than the cost to acquire a customer, then keep putting more money in. Last month, it cost me £80 to acquire a customer, and my lifetime value was nearly £1,000 per customer. So that means that for every £80 I put on Google, they was giving me £1,000. So why would I ever limit that? You shouldn't limit it. This, by the way, this episode has come about because a guy called Carl Walker from GB Storage asked me a question. And the reason he asked me a question is because I was actually at his storage. I've got to be careful of the time because I've got another appointment coming up in 10 minutes. I was actually at his storage, and I was pretending I was doing a little bit of recce, because I do this often, by the way. I go around self-storages and it's amazing. I'm getting noticed more and more. I always think, no, it's me. And all of a sudden, Carl was like, is it Dean Booty from the podcast? And I was like, shit, yes. And he goes, are you spying on me? I was like, yes. A little bit. Anyway, so he asked me what on the facility, showed me a great facility, real nice. And then at the end, he asked me a question. And if I'm honest, I didn't really have an answer. He asked me, how much would you recommend that people invest in pay-per-clicks? And my default reaction is simple. It's as much as you can possibly afford. But then I was like, well, that doesn't really help some people out, because I know when I was first starting out, but I had limitations on my cash flow. I couldn't just put an unlimited budget. I'm in a fortunate position now where the site is past that critical point, so we have excess cash flow every single month. And so therefore I don't have to limit the amount of money our budget. I don't have to put a top end budget in, because it used to be £2,000. Now we'd have no limit on how much we spend. And so I was realizing that my answer to Carl isn't great, because my answer is, spend as much as you can. Don't have a limit. But then I'm realizing that people have limitations. Of course, when you're starting out, you have limitations on cash flow, because you have very few customers and you have big expenses. And so cash flow is a problem. And the problem that people, you tend to forget what it was like in the startup stage, when you was in the early stages, where every single bloody penny mattered. And so I was looking through all my figures. I came back home and I thought, do you know what? I need a better answer to that question, because that is a question I'm going to get asked more and more. And I can't just say as much as you can afford, because that doesn't really help anybody. And so I need an equation. So I started looking around at my facilities that I've been looking at. I must have 10 facilities that we're looking at least at the minute. And I was thinking, okay, how much do I put down as pay-per-clicks? And why have I put that number down? And it's random, because there is a formula, but I didn't know there's a formula. And so I'm going to share that formula with, there wasn't an exact formula. Every site was different, but now there is an exact formula that I'm going to stick to, because it was roughly the same all the time. And so my answer, obviously, is if you know your numbers and you can afford it and you've got no cash flow limitations, then there should be no budget, because you know £80 in, £1,000 out, you know that it's worth it. It will be worth it. This day and age, pay-per-clicks is worth it. It's an investment. However, if you have cash flow limitations, then what you need to be doing is you need to be setting aside a percentage of your gross square foot. What do I mean by gross square foot? So I've got South Shields, it's a 5,000 square foot building. It's over 2 floors. So it's going to be 10,000 square foot gross. So we're talking gross, not lettable. We're talking gross square foot, 10,000 square foot. And what I recommend people do is budget between 5% and 8% of their gross square foot. So 10,000 square foot, I want to be spending between 500, if I had cash flow limitations, I want to be spending between 500 and 800 pound per month on pay-per-clicks. That is a fair amount. You don't want to be any less than 5, unless, by the way, you're 93% full. I don't know why I've got a thing with 93%, but if you're 93% full, I've got a thing below 93%. I keep spending money on Google. I don't probably spend as much. I will probably have some limitations when we get to there. But if you're over 93% full, then obviously drop it down. This doesn't apply to you. But this is in when people are below that. We're 81% exactly at the minute. And so we're unlimited. So we can spend some months £5,000 a month, some months £2,000, whatever we can chuck at Google and they utilize for us, and we will spend it. But for people with limitations, I would really recommend, I've been through the figures, I've been through the data, and I think this is a fair amount to budget for. Because if you're just starting out, you don't really know. So your gross lettable square foot, your gross square foot, not your lettable, your gross square foot, so 10,000 square foot, it wants to be, you want to really budget for 5% is a minimum, and 8%, that's where you want to be. And don't get me wrong, if you can spend more as well. If you can afford it, then brilliant. But that is where I would go. So I just wanted to share that message with you guys today, because I've been thinking about it, and I know that I'll get other questions like this in the future. And so I wanted to have a researched answer. So Carl, that is my answer. Between 5 and 8%, I think that is the Goldilocks zone, anywhere around there. And it works for our site at Willoughby as well, 50,000 square foot. We've got a 30,000 square foot building, but we sublet 9,000 square foot out to a gym. So let's just say 50,000 square foot. If we do 5%, then it'll be £2,500. That's where we was roughly between 2 and 2,500 when we had cash flow limitations, and all the way up to £4,000. 8% is £4,000. 8% of a 50,000 square foot facility, gross square foot over 2 floors, then that would be around about £4,000 per month. So you want to be spending between 5 and 8% of your gross square foot. That is the Goldilocks area, and that is a Goldilocks zone. So for me, that's the answer. And I've been looking at it, and we've complied with that over the years. And so I think it's great advice. Obviously, I'm going to say that. So yeah, because I didn't like it, the fact I didn't really have an answer for somebody who was just starting out, because it's okay for me to say, oh yeah, just spend as much as you want. But for people starting out, that doesn't, as much as you can afford, that doesn't really help out, does it? You just spend, spend as much as you possibly can. Yeah, but what does that really mean, Dean? How much shall I budget for? We need budgets. We need some hard cash flow, because hard to set against that cash flow, because we can't do any cash flow forecast, we can't do any budgeting, we can't do this if we don't know. And so that for me, between 5 and 8%, I believe, is the Goldilocks zone. It's not too hot, not too cold. It's just about perfect. All right, my friends, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you all. And it's great getting out there and meeting so many different people as well from the storage industry. As you know, I'm a bit of a storage geek and I love it. When you listen to this, I will be in Scotland, Bonnie, Scotland. I'm going to go and look at an Airbnb on Loch Ness that's for sale. And I'm looking for a couple of sites. I can't tell you where. I've been told off too many times by too many people that I respect for sharing too much. So I can't tell you. I'm not going to tell anybody any information until a deal is done from now on. So for everybody out there who has been giving me that advice, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Right. And so obviously, as when a deal is done, I will share as much as possible. And, I'll share all my figures, all my numbers and everything, but only when a deal is done, because I don't want someone to come across and gazump me. Hopefully nobody is like that listening to this. I know you're not. We all help each other out in this industry. All right, guys, girls, it's been wonderful. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I love you. And I'll speak to you soon. Bye.